Hi, I'm Kila.
And I'm Ashley.
And we met on TikTok when our stories collided.
After we discussed our crazy, people wanted to tell us they're crazy.
So join us as we unpack a whole lot of crazy.
And we named this podcast after the one thing we definitely have in common, raising our mamas.
So welcome to Raising Barbara Jean and Wanda.
Warning, following episode is intended for mature audiences only. It contains graphic descriptions, adult dialogue, and strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
We talk about dramatic shit.
Back. This is the second part of an interview. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, I suggest you do that.
And we are back.
Yes, with Brandy. And I know that y'all are like, shit, we had to wait another week, but, you know, we can't give it all to you at the first, no, we got to be a little tease. So Kila was asking if you listened to last week's episode.
Yep. So we kind of went through everything, and we talked about her dad dropping them off with these religious church freaks
For a month.
After he met them for 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. It had to be that. It was not longer than that. He was like, well, you got one leg. You're good.
That's the only qualifications you need to raise my kids.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
then
your
they
kid
took you-
died? Here you go. Here's more.
Then those people took you to kind of like DCS, I guess.
Yeah.
And was like, we don't know who the hell these kids are. We
Yeah.
just go with
The
it.
dad left us with them for a month ago, and he's never come back. And so they was like getting our names and stuff, and we had been in and out of the system with him, so they kind of knew. So they
Yeah.
called my uncle, which is my dad's, which was my mom's brother, and my uncle Johnny, and they were like, hey, can you get them at least? And he was like, well, the mom's in jail. I can get them until I get the dad. Because, like, they wasn't in a position to take on two kids, but he tried to do the best he could. So
Yeah.
I remember them coming to pick us up, and I remember us being with them, like, maybe, like, a week or two, and then they got a hold of my dad. My dad sobered up, and then that's what he would do. He would prove the people that he was good, and then he would, as soon as he got us, he would go back to doing the wild shit.
Dad's like, damn, I got to get him back.
Yeah.
But where
Now I
was
gotta be
Dad
sober.
going when he was gone for weeks?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, I think bars, like,
Okay.
he was severely, like, he's a very social drunk. Like, he loved talking and music and smoking cigarettes, and he would just be there. But my dad worked, too. My dad was, like, a diesel mechanic. Like, he had a really sophisticated job. Like, he was really good at what he did, and it would just be crazy to me. And I didn't realize this until I got older, of course. But, yeah, I think he would work and just get drunk. He would act like he would have no fucking kids. He was just like, oh, you mean them? Okay.
Right.
It was wild.
Okay, so he comes back, but he brings you home, but he just disappears on and off again.
Yeah, he would he would be there for like a night, I think, getting us settled in, where I'm thinking, it's going to go back to normal. And then, like, at this point, we had already moved out of that one St. Vincent de Paul apartments, and we had moved down the street. Here in Louisville, there's like a very major high school called DuPont Manual. It's like very known everywhere because of all their smart ass kids there. Anyway, we lived across the street from there, and it was these apartments that, like, when you walked up in them, it was like a big U. So, like, people's balconies when you walked up, you'd be like on the balcony. And so you can have this. Sorry, my daughter's.
You're good.
And so we had an apartment there, and like you had to, like, we were up on the 4th floor. And I say this because when I tell you the story about my mom, when she comes and gets us, you have to know that, like, we're really far up. Like, it's like 4 stories up.
So
And we moved there.
can you tell us that story?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So at this point, we're going to a different elementary school. I think this might have been the 5th one. It was Cochran Elementary. And we were, like, on 3rd Street. That's where we lived in Louisville. And these apartments, like I said, they were kind of like on the fourth floor. And they were small. Like, it was like a 1-bedroom apartment. And we didn't have LG&E. We had gas. LG&E here is, like, they're electric.
Okay.
There was no electric. And
I was
my
gonna ask
dad
you
was
that.
gone. And, like, I just remember.
But you had gas.
There was gas because the stove would come on. And I just
Right.
remember him being gone and me having to get my brother in a bath, getting him ready. And we would walk 5 blocks over to Cochran Elementary.
And you were 6?
Yes, at this point I was in 1st grade, going like in 1st grade. Or no, hold on. There's a picture out there somewhere. I'm trying to find somebody in Louisville that has that yearbook because I'm bald in it. And that's the only one there is. And so I think I was in kindergarten. Like, I switched that year.
Yes.
And was bald at this point. No, because it's somewhere along the line I got bald, so we lived there at St. But then at this place, I was still bald. So like I'm taking my brother to school, doing the things I'm supposed to do, bringing him back upstairs, and I just remembered to know not to tell nobody that my dad wasn't there. I just knew it was ingrained in me. I just never said nothing. So I'd be taking him like it'd be like that weeks at a time. He would come in sometimes, but he was never really there. I don't remember him being there at all. And one day, Michelle, he has a girlfriend, of course. So one time, like when he wants to play house, he would have Michelle and him would come over, and like you would think it was my house and they were coming to visit because that's how they fucking acted. But this is his house and these are his kids and we're fucking under 6 years old. What are you doing?
Right.
And my brother he was just being a kid, like he was a kid. And Michelle would come by. So at this time, my dad was gone. We didn't know where he was. He was on a bender somewhere. And Michelle stops by. She's like, I just wanted to make sure if y'all were okay. Again, no electric. We do have gas. I was like, we're fine. And we only had a crate on the floor in the one bedroom that we laid on with a light, like a sheet. And then there was like a couch in the living room. That was it. A couch and a small little table. And Michelle was like, hey, take this trash down. I was like, okay. So I grabbed the trash and I walked down the steps and I had to walk all the way around the building. And so I'm walking like down the side of the building and I go in the back and I go to throw this stuff in the dumpster and I hear somebody go, psst, hey. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm about to get kidnapped. I always had a fear of being kidnapped. I don't know fucking why. It probably would have been better circumstances, but I really thought I was going to be kidnapped.
Just living in the hood, you never knew.
Like I was like, I knew not to like engage because you already know when you grow up where I grew up, you're like, yeah, we just gonna keep moving, keep it pushing.
Yeah.
And I hear go, hey, and I was like, and I just seen this lady like dip out from behind the garbage can, and I was like, or the dumpster, and I was like, yeah. And they were like, she was like, your dad up there? I was like, and before I could say anything, I was like, I said, who are you? She said, it's me. And I said, who are you? She said, it's me, motherfucker, your mom. And I was like, oh, hey, mom. Like shit didn't even think. I was like, oh, hey, mom, how you doing? She was like, who's up there? I was like, oh. She's like, was your dad up there? I was like, nah, dad ain't been here in weeks. She said, weeks? I was like, weeks? Yeah, weeks. I like kind of dipped back a little bit because I thought she was going to hit me. She was like, weeks? I said, yeah. She's like, who's up there with you right now? Like, tell me exactly who's in the house. I said, me and Steven and Michelle stopped by. She said, Michelle. She said, I'm going to smack that bitch. And I was like, all right. And so she was like, don't you tell nobody. You seen me? Nothing. She said, nothing at all. And if you do, I'm going to bust your fucking ass. Don't say nothing. I was like, okay, I'm not going to say nothing. So I didn't say nothing. No. In that moment, she jumps in this car. I'm not exaggerating when I tell y'all this. Her friend Judy is this big overweight woman, but I love her. She was like always with my mom. She like rose up in this little Geo Metro.
No, not
I swear to God, the Metro. And she's like, Judy, let's go. And she jumps in, and I swear the wind blew back her hair, and she was fucking gone. Like, left me there in the alley. Like, it was like, I thought I dreamed it. That's how fast she jumped in that car and was gone. Like, and I was like, damn. So I just go upstairs, and I kind of get to playing around and forgetting, and then it's time for bed. Michelle just decides to stay that night. Out of all the nights in the whole world, that bitch decides to stay that night. And I remember laying there, and I remember just laying in for a brief moment. I was laying there, I was thinking, damn, man, this shit is not normal. Like,
right.
And Michelle's on the couch. Like, we're laying on this egg crate. And I just remember I had this strawberry shortcake nightgown on. And I was like, I wonder if mom's really going to come. Like, and I just remember kind of almost dozing to sleep. And I hear boom, boom, boom. And I like raise up fast. And I look at Steven and he's like raised up too. And I said, mom's here. And that's all I could get out before that door flew off the fucking hinges. And I mean, flew. Like, she kicked that off with power, and it kind of flew back and onto the couch on Michelle. And Michelle's like, what the fuck? So Michelle goes to get up to try to block her. My mom said, fucking bitch, and smacks Michelle like smacks her to the ground, and then runs in there. The wind blows past my mom's hair. I thought it looked like she was like a savior. So then she grabs us up and we go down, and like she runs and puts us into the car, and like she kidnapped us. And I was like, damn, my mom's Batman. My mom was the hood Batman. She was like, but then I tell everybody, like, she was just on crack. You know what I'm saying? She just had to do what she had to do, and she kidnapped us, and she got us.
Right, yeah.
But we were gone for like 9 months. My dad could not find us. My mom had the one up on him every fucking chance we got. We was jumping school to school. And at this time, he had these papers, and my mom was like, "You're not gonna ever find us." I remember she'd call and like whisper in the ear to him, like, "Yeah, bitch, you're never gonna find." Click and hang up on him.
Tormenting him.
The funniest thing about it is my mother went to jail to prison because of my dad. A lot of people, I didn't never say that in the story, but my mother was in prison because of my father.
When she got out, she was
Like
in prison before.
Like when she
After
was
the
in prison,
divorce.
the very first time, it was because she had got a phone bill in his name without him knowing it. And back then, Bell South was real serious, and she ran it up. It was like over $1,000, so it was considered a felony. And because she didn't do something or show up to something and didn't pay restitution, they got her in prison. That's what she went to prison for. So eventually, my dad
really was
was
trying to get back at your dad.
Yeah, she hated him. Like,
God,
like
my mom had so many phones and different people's names.
I mean, we all had phones in our names.
Man, I had to clear my name on every utility site in Louisville when I got 18 because they were all trying to charge me when I was trying to move out.
Yep.
They were like, I was like, I was fucking 10 then. How am I going to have an electric bill when I was 10? The fuck?
Right. They're like, well, you're going to have to write a letter. I'm like, bitch, you should be writing me a letter.
Right. I'm not writing a fucking letter.
Right.
I would still electric a lot. I had bad hits. Like, you grew up around that stuff. You think so? In my 20s, I was like, when my LG&E would get cut off and I couldn't afford it, I would just go flip the meter.
Yeah.
That's illegal. Don't do that, guys. But I'm just saying I did for a little bit.
We didn't do it with electric, but we did with water. I mean, they just left the pole
we
there.
Had
they were like,
tool. We had the tool.
Yep. They're like, hey, Mama, she wouldn't run it from 8 to 4 because she knew they were, liable to come. But after 4, honey, we washing clothes.
Yes.
We getting baths.
We're doing all the dishes. We're getting it all done. So, because we know by midnight, that's got to be shut off before they come in the morning because we'll fall asleep. And there were so many times my mom fell asleep and forgot to turn the water off, and we got it shut. They put a lock on it. My mom was like, "You didn't fucking wake me up, nobody." That's how she would be.
Yes.
Now we ain't got no fucking water. I'd be like, "Pay the bill."
Right, exactly.
I can't. It's $2,000. That's what she'd say.
I mean, I really didn't start paying my water bill till I was 45.
I didn't.
I had to get it electronically.
Water
wasn't a big deal to me to pay. My husband was like, "Can't you pay the damn bill?" And I'm like, I forget. I mean, I pay electric because we need that.
Right.
We got a pool.
Right.
Get
in the pool.
There's some chlorine in there.
He would be mad. Oh.
Okay, so teenage years, were you with mom or were you with dad or back and forth or?
Teenage years, I was kind of just on my own. It was like I lived with my mom, but she at this point was on hard drugs so bad. I remember the first time I ever found out my mom was doing. Well, at the time they called it crank, but it's really meth.
Meth,
and
right.
I remember I let her wear a pair of my jeans. I was 12, and me and my friend Tasha, and we were like about to go see my brother because he was in boot camp, and because he was bad as fuck. My brother was the fucking like a robber of the neighborhood. He robbed everybody. I don't know what the fuck. Like he would just rob you out of nowhere. He would steal. He was the fastest robber. That's all I could tell. Like
just to see if he could.
Yes,
well,
he
probably
would do
just like survival too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't have it. I'm gonna get it. Go ahead. Sorry.
He was you're fine. He was like the biggest booster that I knew. I was like, hey, I need some diapers. Can you? Well, when my son got old enough, like when my kid was born, I was like, I need diapers. Can you go get me some? He's like, yeah, I'll be back. And then he'd come back with like a big box and shit. I was like, how do you do that? And he's like, don't ask no questions. I was like,
that's right. That's right.
But he just did that shit. So they caught him. He got in trouble. And at this time, he was like 14. No, I had to be older. Okay, so maybe I was a little bit older in my teenage years. But he got in trouble. He was like dating a 30-year-old. And nobody blinked at it. Now, that was rape.
Yeah.
I look back now, I'm like, Steven, you were like fucking 13 years old, 14 years old, and she was like 30 years old. She was my friend. It was a bitch I hung out with.
Isn't that so weird how that's normal too? Because my sister used to hang out with like grown ass people when she was like 11, and she said now I realize like I watch their kids and I help them clean their house and I just chill with them. And she's like, Mom, I'd be down there for a week or so, and Mom wouldn't even like bat an eye. And I'm like, how do you just let your 11-year-old go hang out with 30-year-olds?
Like grown people, yeah. So
well, is it because they were normal though? Almost a normal person? Because I used to do that with some of my mom's friends.
Creepy.
Or not my mom's friends, but just people that we knew.
Yeah. Ours was, they weren't, bad people, but, just trailer park people. And I'm like, oh my God, I could imagine my kid going and staying with But yeah.
That's how it was in the neighborhood. It was like a trailer park because all of us knew each other. We all grew up around each other from the 10 and up. And so my grandma lived in the middle of the duplexes, and I would be at her house. If I wanted stability and a clean home and a good dinner, I'd be there. And I was there a majority of the time. And then my mom's house, when my grandma died, it really fucked me up like real bad. I didn't know how to take it. And so I was strung back into having to live in a dirty home and like with roaches and like people, like we had 15 people living with us at one time. My mom pimped this lady out before, like she made her go horror to pay rent.
Yeah, mom was kind of like that too. I called her Project Security.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd walk the corridor and she'd be like, "Who's that pulling up?" Like, no, you don't go straight to the who's got the pills. You come to me first, and then
I swear to God, my mom was the same way.
I'm like, Mom, you don't got a pot to piss in or when to throw it out of. You ain't giving nothing to the game. But they would all. I mean, she knew when they got them. She went to the doctor with them. She rode the 10 caravan. She already had them distributed. Yeah, but she would walk up down. But I remember being when we lived in the apartments. It was Section 8, but.
Yeah.
One of the previous episodes we talked about mom fighting Cheryl. They would get up there and get on those like Dayton call
814-8888. That's what it was. I used to call it.
I would walk up there like in the mornings at like 15, and there would be a guy sitting on the couch. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And they're like, I think his name's Timmy, but he bought me a carton of cigarettes. And Mama would straight pimp their asses out. Like she would be like, you go on out there, you better go get us some cigarettes. And I mean, yeah, that was normal.
What I did. I was like 12 or 13 smoking cigarettes, and I would go. Me and my friend Brittany would be like, well, how are we gonna get some money? Because we're poor, we can't get it, we can't work. So we would get on that 814-8888 and act like grown women and be on there talking.
Wow.
I was like 12, 13.
How do you raise your daughter now?
Oh my God, nothing like that. Like at 11, like for her to be 11, she don't know nothing about none of that. Like she don't like the stuff that I like nothing. Like she don't even look at she's so shy. She's so polite and very well spoken. She just does not. She's so great, and I love it. I love that she's a child. I love that she's able to be a child. She don't have to worry about the stress. I'm getting freaked out because she's going into middle school, and I'm scared like people are gonna like taint her a little bit, like kind of like. And I have to watch myself too on TikTok because I don't want nobody at her school to get my TikTok. Because I'm insane. If they think my mom was bad and if something happens to my baby, I'm going to go fucking insane. So I was like, well, I don't want to I ask her sometimes, I'll say on the video, Bailey, don't watch this.
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you really not want me watching that? I said, yeah, I really don't want you to watch. She said, what about your podcast? And I said, when you're 18, you can listen to my podcast, but you cannot listen to none of it now. I said, you have to, we have a little trust thing where she won't. Like she has stepsisters and stuff that she goes with, and they have TikTok, but they don't let her listen to it either. And so she has TikTok, so I have to watch sometimes what I say on there, which I do say crazy stuff, but I try to make it
water it down.
Yeah, water it down a lot, especially for TikTok. You kind of got to. I couldn't say that real story. I did tell the story about me like getting the cheeseburger, but I left out a lot. I couldn't say it the way I want to say it.
Yeah.
But and sometimes I'm so blunt when I say things, and I'm like, I got to realize that sometimes people can't take a kid getting in their ass. Like, that's kind of weird. Like, Randy, you should be careful.
Yes.
So I have to say, sometimes I have to be like, how can I say this story without it hurting anybody? And the reason why I like my podcast is I just say it.
Yeah.
But on TikTok, I can't.
Well, do people look at you like you're kidding when you talk about your life?
Oh,
They're like laughing with you, and you're like, no, really?
Yes.
Mostly, I do stand up. Like sometimes we'll be at a family function. Like my brother can mimic my mother so good. It's hilarious. I got to get my brother one day on a podcast with me in video because the way that me and him go off of each other is even more funnier. And I say this all the time, but he just works so much. He's got 4 kids. He works hard, and and I'm like, damn, Steven, we need to really get on the podcast together. He's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm like, all right. But like, he's just, I don't know. Like, he's funny. I'm funny. I think that's just how we deal with stuff. I'll be in the middle. I'll be like our kids, like all of our kids are sarcastic kids.
Yeah.
Like my son, he's 22 and he's funny as fuck. I always say all the time, damn, I know you got my humor because we share dark humor stuff back and forth, and he don't blink an eye or judge me on none of it. He's like, Mom, that is what. One time he's like, that may be too dark. I was like, nothing's too dark.
Right.
He's like, yeah, you're right. That was really fucking funny. I was like, yeah, see. But he got raised a lot different than Bailey. Because he was in the trenches with me, and I had a kid young. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I just remember living in the house with him, and my mom would be like doing crack in the next room. And to me, because I kept him safe in my room, it didn't seem neglectful.
Right.
Because at the time I was like, well, I'm not doing crack.
Right. And he's in another room.
And he's in here, like with me. So in my head, I justified it as, well, this is how my roof, this is where I stay. And also, I would like clean my bedroom super spotless. And in my head, I really thought the roaches didn't come in there. Like, I don't know why. I just thought that in my head. And that's just how I lived. And now I look back and I tell him, sometimes I say, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, you was a great mom. He says that to me all the time. But I always feel like I could have done better with him, but I did the best I could with the knowledge that I had at the time. And then when Bailey was born 10 years later, I was completely different. I was able to stay home with her. She got like one-on-one time with me, which sometimes I think kids need to be out there in public, because Sean never got sick, but Bailey was sick all the time because she was just with me all the time. I wouldn't let nobody keep her, nobody watch her, nothing. So I think that's just how it is.
Well, I think you've done great.
Well,
I mean, the fact that your kids speak to you and, you know, you have a relationship with them. And I totally can relate to the, you know, thinking that you're behind a door and people are like, oh my God, there was crack being smoked. But I used to take my son when he was, because I was 19 when I had him. My boyfriend, his daddy would work out of town, and I didn't like to be by myself because I was always raised in the city. Well, I say the city, it's a tiny little town, but you know, government apartments and shit's in the city limits. Well, where we were living was way out in the country, and I hated being out there by myself. So I would go to Mom's at the trailer park and take my baby in there, and she'd go in the back bedroom, they'd smoke pot or whatever, but she never done it in front of me. And like I'm like, but my boyfriend would be like, you've had my baby at your mama's. And I'm like, first of all, that's my mama. Yeah. I'm like, that's my mama. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, probably wasn't the great, like, but Mom wouldn't make like deals and stuff in front of him. She'd always go outside or take him to the neighbor's house.
That's how mine was.
She never do it in the room with him. And she would just say, hey, Sharpie, I'll be back, you know. And I knew that she was doing whatever she was doing, but, and I'm like, at least she has the respect for me to do that. But then now looking back, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up at all.
Yeah, I was not there.
But if you don't know any better, like, but we would get into fights about that because his dad was a preacher, his mom, you know, preacher's wife, and they lived a great life, and they're great people. But it was like culture shock to him, like. You had my baby out at 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, he don't know. He's 3 months old. He's going to sleep whether he's.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's sleeping on the couch. It's not like, you know, I throwed him in the yard. Yeah. I mean, he don't know from one place to the next. I don't want to be by myself. But now looking back as a 40-year-old, I'm like, I could have, you know, made some different, but I didn't know. And I did the best I could. So
that's what I tell Sean, my son. I say, you know, he's like, damn, if that was me. He's like, she's so spoiled. I said, no, she's loved. And he said, oh, you didn't love me? I was like, no, I loved you. But I was like a kid having a kid, Sean.
Right.
I said, and plus I had, you know, me and your daddy, me and his daddy were so toxic. We would fist fight. Like full blown fist fight. Like it was like knockdown, drag out. I jumped out a window one time and jumped this bitch in the ditch because she had sex with him. And I was mad because I was like, that's my son's dad. What did you do? And not realize I should have just kicked him out because he didn't have no place to go. But we fought like that all the time. It was a lot of domestic violence situations because I grew up around that stuff. So I thought, well, I'm pissed. I'm going to put my hands on you because that's what my mom did. Yeah. So that's what I thought was okay. So when Sean was like, before Sean was 1, I think he probably seen me whoop his daddy's ass a bunch of times. Me and his daddy fighting each other, like just for no reason. Like just, you know, angry and not realizing. And now I look back, I'm like, damn. And I'm always apologizing and saying, you know, fuck, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. He's like, no. He was like, I was a baby for one. But I look back, you get that motherly guilt. It's like, you're like,
the mom guilt is overwhelming sometimes. Yeah. How do you handle like conflict now?
Well, I learned a good lesson of conflict because when I was 16, or when my son was 16, me and him finally got into an argument for our very first one. He wanted to live with his dad, who was at the time never around. I raised him from the time he was born until he's 16. And because he wanted to be like he just liked the little girl that he liked at the time. I did not like her. We got into a big, not like a brawl. And basically my son went against what I said. And at that time I had been harboring some shit for years.
Right.
And I flipped the fuck out. Like, I'm talking about courts got involved, flipped out really bad. And like for 3 years, I didn't get to see my son. Like, he would not talk to me. His dad acted like he was dad of the year for 3 years. And, now me and his dad are fine. Like, we don't have no issues. But at the time, you couldn't tell. Like, I was like, I've kept you out of jail. I've done everything for you, and you're going to do this to me. I've done everything I could to never even have your son even look at you bad. And and I just took everything, instead of taking responsibility for my actions and the way that I acted, I flipped out. And when I say I flipped out, they had me on body cam footage, flipping the fuck out, jumping on cars, acting crazy. I was my son and his dad had the same name. I was threatening my son's dad, but it came out and looked like I was threatening my kid, which I never did. I never really spanked my kids. They never got whoopings. They never did because I was so abused. And I was so, like, you couldn't tell me. And the courts are trying to tell me, well, you were being neglectful. And in my head, I thought, fuck you. I've never neglected. You don't know what neglect is. I was neglected. And I've been the best mother. And in my head, you couldn't tell me. So then I had to do anger management classes, parenting classes. And finally, when I did those things, I started realizing, oh, God, I'm my mom.
Yeah.
I was like, if I don't get a hold of this now, and at the time Bailey was like 4 or 5, I was like, if I don't get a hold of this now, it's going to be bad. So I just started in my 30s being a self-aware person.
Anger management classes suck.
They suck ass, and it doesn't do anything. So dumb. For me.
Yeah, it's like the parenting classes.
I'm like, put up that notebook and you just say what they want to hear.
Yeah, like
it ain't like it teaches you to quit being angry.
I taught myself, like, I get angry now, and I figured out why I couldn't. So I was one of those people that at the time, they always said I was bipolar. And I would be like, I really don't think I'm bipolar. I would tell them, I don't think I'm bipolar because I can go without medicine I've never took medicine. They would tell me to take medicine. I just wouldn't do it. And then finally I found a therapist that understood me, and they were like, I don't think you're bipolar. I think you got borderline personality disorder. I said, thank you. I've been trying to tell these motherfuckers this for years.
Yeah.
They're like, damn, because I'll sit down and talk to my therapist like we're friends, and we'll have a full-blown conversation. They're like, damn, you're very smart. I was like, thank you. I was like, yeah, but I think I got borderline personality disorder. And they were like, okay. They took my word for it. She was like, I really think you do too, now that I'm thinking, because I started bringing up really key factors because I couldn't control my emotions. Like, I would only have issues in relationship situations, and when I was angry, I couldn't be calmed down. I was worse than my mom. Like, when I get really mad, I can't be calmed down. So then I had to learn how to regulate my emotions. I had to learn how to self-soothe. I had to learn how to redo all this. And the past 5 years, that's what I've been doing, is working on myself and making sure that if I do get mad, that I have to not react. And that was so hard.
I've been working like on myself like that since like 2019. So like probably like 5 years too.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, this is not normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal to be raged over something that's not serious. And then, then you feel stupid afterwards, and like, or just feel like scattered. So I didn't even get like the ADHD thing until I want to say 2022, which made a lot of sense. And like you said, changed my life. And I got on Prozac in like 2019, and it was a miracle.
That's what my sister, she loves it, I think.
I was riding down the road one day, and I was like, and I was just like really chatty, and I was like, it just like hit me. I was like, oh my God, I've not been this way since high school. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, like everything is just great, and the colors are brighter and everything. And I was like, oh, Prozac is amazing. Yeah. And my husband was like, yeah, it's been pretty good for you. But yeah, so those are the two things that I have to take, and I take them religiously because they make me normal. Yeah. And I'm able to, like you said, not react. I'm able to evaluate the situation and then react appropriately. Now, sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have been a little bit more of a bitch on that, but I wasn't. But I'm like,
Yeah, that's how I am. Like in situations like in school situations, when I want to snatch a bitch up, I'm like, I can't snatch her up because then Bailey will be traumatized like I was as a kid. And like I have beef with the fucking car rider line lady here at my daughter's school. Me and her just have beef. She just has a problem with me, and I have a problem with her. And I let her know about it too. But she just one of those people that tries to be a boss. And I was like, you don't even know where I come from. Lady.
Right.
You don't even know how
you can't boss a boss.
Right. I was sitting there thinking in my head every time I see her, I'm like, you don't even know who you're fucking with. I'm Jason Bourne, bitch. Mm-hmm. I was born in this. My mother came into school like this. Like, you know how the old people tell them old stories? Like, I walked 5 miles. Well, my mother crawled so I could walk. Or something like
my mother held us hostage at school, bitch. So, I mean, there's no telling what I'm liable to do.
I know. I always tell people, like, when they say, oh, you know, this is a really fucked up situation, I'm like, hit me with it. I'm telling you, it's not going to do anything to me. I have no reaction on none of this.
Right. I tried to also... I didn't have Prozac at the, until like 2019. So before that, I would, one time Aniston had a teacher. My son was very thick skinned. He needed a more like gruff teacher, one that was stern because he was wild. But my daughter's very sensitive and she needs someone that's more calm and quiet and, so she got this teacher and it was not her homeroom teacher, but like the one that they partnered with or whatever. And I mean, in the morning, she'd be like, Mom, my stomach's hurting. I'm going to puke. And I'm like, okay, first of all, nobody's going to make my child puke before school because they're that nervous. Yep. So I called the principal, and my daughter was friends with her daughter. And I was like, look here, you can either handle this today or I'll be at that bitch's car this evening. And she was like, no, Ashley. And I was like, I'm just telling you right now, I don't make my kid puke at home from nerves. I'll be damned if I'm going to send her to school and she's going to be puking. Right. And I said, and the lady's not bad. She's just really loud and she's really kind of gruff and just really blunt. And Aniston doesn't do good with that. So they pulled Aniston out of class and so the principal had to tell the teacher, like, hey, her mama's saying that she's got to be moved from your class or whatever. And she was like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. So she brought Aniston out of the class and she was like, I'm so sorry I made you feel this way. I need a little redhead in my class because my daughter's a redhead. Aww. And talked it up and made Aniston think like, oh, I'm going to be teacher's pet. And she was like, well, Aniston, it's ultimately up to you. And Aniston was like, no, I'm fine now. I mean, of course, as soon as the door closed, she was a bitch again. But I had to get her several times and be like, I'm not real sure if you don't know, but we don't do that to my kids. Right. We might do that to everybody else's kids. You don't do that to mine.
Do you think it's shocking when you see some people, like now with the knowledge that you have on how much actually emotionally abused people are to their kids and they don't even realize it on some of the stuff that they do? Now I look back and I like things that seem normal to me and I'm around people. I can't be around certain people because of how emotionally abusive they are without even realizing they are. And it's like, I don't want to be a bitch and be like, bring this up. But like you called your kid an idiot like 4 fucking times. Yeah. Like in a row. Yeah. Like, bro, it's a different story if y'all are like going back and forth. But even still, then that makes me a little uncomfortable. But I've been around people that are like that with their children. And I try not to be a judgy bitch. I really do. But when it comes to a kid's emotional well-being, I lived it and I know what affects kids.
Yes. And you know that words are so strong. They are. Like I would tell my ex-husband, slap me. Things that you say, I'll never forget. I'll forget what it feels like to be slapped. But just slap me. I'd rather you knock my ass out than to say the things that you said. Because still, here I am 18 years later. I still remember the things that he said and how they made me feel. And I'm the same way. Now, so I have toddlers now. Aww. That I've got. I've had them for like 20 months and we're about to get to adopt them. But and I talk to them like I talk to my kids, but I don't call names. First of all, we don't. No. I'm with you. I've never called them bitches or never.
No. See, how did your mom do that with you? Like, you little bitch. Like mine says that.
She did when we got older. It was real weird, and she didn't let people talk like crude in front of us and stuff, which is kind of weird because it was like they were passed out and burning the house down and shit. But God forbid they didn't say like sexual stuff. But like when we got older, she would, and I just remember. Just feeling like it didn't matter. Those words just really stuck with me. So I totally get what you say. And like when you send your kids to school, like don't send them to school after cussing their asses out. It's going to make for a horrible day.
The morning, like I've made a big deal about that because like, I'm like, you have to make it peaceful in the morning. I know that kids, but don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. I get up in the mornings. I'm like, Bailey, can we hurry up? And then I immediately catch myself because I'm like, I don't ever in my life want her to fucking feel so stressed out before school like I used to, and then
I'll tell you what I did to my kids though, and they're 18 and 21 now. I rushed them, and so they rush, and I hate that so bad because I would watch. So I got custody of my he's actually my cousin, but I called him my nephew. I got him when he was 17, and they would rush him like, come on, and I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, but I rushed them like that, like let's go, pick it up, let's go, because I'm always late. And so they would get really nervous, like because they were driving, because my son was like 17 or 18 or whatever, and they would just be like rushing him, and I'm like, I'm really sorry that I did that to y'all, that I rushed y'all and make you feel like now that it's like fight or flight, we gotta go. So I did do that, and I kind of do it to the babies a little bit, because
I always look at it like we're not perfect human beings,
right?
We have our own emotions of ourselves. I don't try to be perfect ever, and I really don't ever judge people. I try not to judge people on their parenting, because you never know where that person is in their journey on what they're going to learn. But if my child's around it and my child sees it, I have to address it, because now she's seen it, and she's going to win. My mom and Bailey is always like, Mommy, you're the best mommy ever, and I love you so much. You're so good to me. And I said, well, thank you. I use a lot of good words and say a lot of great things. And she's like that with her dad too. They have a great relationship, and her stepmom, she does the same thing. And I just love how she does, like, she verbally says, like, thank you so much for being good at this. Thank you. I love you. You know,
very appreciative.
Now, how is your mom with your kids?
She loves them. Like, she's never been alone with them. Like, I wouldn't let her babysit. Like, now my son, she did for a good stable time. She had a husband named Kenny, and they ran a fruit stand. They were like the fruit people of here in Louisville, south end of Louisville. Like, everybody come to them to buy fruit and all that shit. And she did pretty good. That she would work from sun up to sundown. That was the only time, like 5 or 6 years, she was like that. She actually got up, would work, and but my mom's a rebel. She cannot sit still for 5 minutes, and I knew that was only going to last a short amount of time. And she did keep my son a couple times. She's never kept Bailey alone at all, ever. Like, her Bailey's dad would have they butted heads immediately. And Bailey's dad was kind of like a dominant man, so he was not about to let my mother be. My mother did, and that was when I got with Bailey's daddy, I started realizing that my mom wasn't as normal as I thought. And it's because a lot of things he would point out stuff, and be like, what the fuck? And he'd be like, that shit's not normal. Like the shit you were saying, like your ex would be like, you can't, there ain't no way you're doing that stuff.
Right.
And so, you're like, what? Your mom didn't do that?
Right.
Right. And I didn't do it. But he went through his own set of stuff. But like, and I used to be like, damn. And so Bailey my mom never kept her, but she would always come visit. And she's just like a spoiler of, like, now she just kind of spoils them. Like, she'll whatever they want. My daughter can text her right now and say, I want this, and she'll buy it for her. It might take her 6 years to get it to her, but she does that. She'll have, like, she's the bag lady. She has like 75 bags, and she just holds them around everywhere she goes. And she was like, I got this for her, and it'd be like 3 sizes too small from 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, thank you.
She still likes Paw Patrol. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because like she got hit by a drunk driver a couple years ago, and she ended up getting pretty good. I don't know about y'all, but people in Louisville, they like to fucking sue, and they get lawsuits. So lawsuits is a big thing. A lot of people in the duplex community, if you hit them, that's 10 grand immediately. They knew, these people knew this stuff. And my mom, she actually wasn't a victim and got hit by a drunk driver just minding her business. And it really messed her up, like broke her hip twice. And then she ended up having to sue the hospital because they treated her bad because she was a meth addict, but she wasn't driving.
Yeah.
And because she was a meth addict, they treated her a certain way. And I remember I had to go up there flipping out in front of everybody. They just wheeled her out and left her out there. And she had a broken hip, broken arm, broken everything. And she ended up doing all that. But they eventually gave her a big amount of money. And then I was like, this is so insane that somebody like this has this. Like, how? Like, why? Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you would net, like, it's not, the light's not on there. She don't give a fuck. She don't care. Even though she can take and go do whatever the fuck, it doesn't register in her. She's like, hey, I don't care about any of that. I'm like,
yeah, my mom was the same way. She had a lawsuit going when she passed away. She'd been fighting it for 5 years. And
man, they fight that shit, don't they? They'll go and show up for that.
Well, it was the mesh bladder thing that they had all over the thing. She fired attorneys, hired new ones. Anyways, she signed her paperwork on Tuesday and died on Saturday. So she never seen it. We got her money. Of course, we had to wait through probate or whatever. Which I'll just tell y'all, it was like it was like $120,000, but like the 40% was attorney fees, so I think we ended up with like 60 or whatever. And there's 3 kids, but yeah, she had no idea what to do with the money. She was like, "What do I do with this money?" And my husband manages a bank, which is foreign to my family. And she's like, "Okay," she's never owned a checking account. And she's like, "I don't know what to do." She's like, "I'm just gonna make your husband whatever, and just give me $800 a month because I can live on that." Because she lived in government apartments and she didn't have a license, and so I knew that it was coming soon. So I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go get your license back. You can pay me back. When you get your money, we're gonna go ahead and pick out a car." I'd been looking up cars. I found her a little Nissan. I think it was a Sentra, and it was like this color. It was like teal. This looks blue on the camera, but it's actually like more teal. And she was like. And then we were like, "We're going to go to the mountains or we're going to go on a trip." And she goes, "I don't want to go on the trip, but I want y'all to go." And I'm like, "Mom, that's not the point. The point." She's like, I don't want to go on a cruise." And I'm like, "The point is like you said, I always wanted her to be normal and I just wanted her to see things." And I'm like, "Mom, I want you to go somewhere where you're like, oh, wow, this place actually exists and people wait on you." And like, 'cause she had never done that. And she died 3 days before or 4 days before it was final.
Damn.
Yeah, not 4 days. 4 days after she signed the paper.
I'm still worried because my mom don't give a fuck. Like for real, she'll really be like, she just has like 2 boyfriends and like people around her. Like she has one boyfriend who had a stroke, and she like, and that's good for her because she beats her men like he's in the right spot for her. You know what I'm saying? And we love Tom to death, but like, and then Paul's his caregiver, and
This is a story for another day. We gotta get up on some Paul and Tom shit.
Yeah, so then they just got their own shit going on, and I can't put them on TikTok like I want to because like my mom, like the way she is, I just don't want nobody. She'd be open to vulnerable, and I mean, don't get me wrong, she can hold her own.
But they don't understand that level. You know what I mean? They understand like physical. I'll duke it out, but they don't understand someone taking advantage. And that's what I kept telling Mom. I'm like, "Mom, you can't have $75,000 laying under your mattress," because that's what she thought was the most important places where all of our birth certificates and anything that was of importance was under her mattress. I'm like, "You're not going to be able to sleep on $75,000. And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna take it."
Yeah, my mom is one of those people that she's lost. Like she's sane enough that you couldn't even get a mental inquest warrant on her, but she's not. It's like for one, she'd fight me in the street if I tried to do anything with her money, and I would never do it to her because I don't care about the money. It ain't a big deal to me. I know that some people it might be, but it's like to me, I'm just like, it's whatever. Because I already know there's nothing I can do. You can't tell her to do anything. She's going to do what she wants to do.
Yep.
And she was at the boat, excited. The boat is like a gambling boat, and she won $2,000. And I said, "Mom, you have over $500,000 in your account. Why are you so excited about $2,000? Give it to me."
Right.
Can I fucking have it?
Right, exactly.
I was like, I'm going to work every day. God damn. You see me out here struggling? They won't even give me
Toss
fucking
a bitch
food
at 100.
Yeah. I'll hit her up and say, "Hey, can you cash out me?" She's like, "Yeah, I got you." And it takes 6 days and she'll cash out me. And I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, you're right there." Me and my brother just be in an argument with her, like, "Bro, do you know what you can do? Like, do you know what you can do?" Like, we just got tired of talking to her because there's like, she's like, "I don't care. I don't want to lose my Section 8.
The girl, my mama said, "No, I'm gonna give you all my money because I don't want them to know about the Section 8 because they're gonna keep me off." She goes, "I don't mind paying the rent, whatever, but I don't want, full rent." I'm like, "Oh my God!" But yes, and I hate to cut our meeting off short because this has been a freaking blast, and you're amazing, and Brandy is loud on TikTok.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again because there's still so much I have.
I know, God, we went on a rant. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. We always do.
This is what we do. So this will not be the last time. So maybe we can get back with you week or so, or a couple of weeks.
Whatever you want. I'm free. I don't do nothing.
Good.
I mean, I do everything, but I don't do nothing.
That's the same. Yeah, I do everything, but I do nothing. But this has been great. Y'all can follow her on Brandy is Loud at TikTok. What is your Instagram?
It's Brandy is Loud. Everywhere is Brandy is Loud. Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok, and YouTube.
Okay, and she has a podcast called Love Me, Don't Leave Me.
Yeah,
and she also has one called Easy Killer, right?
Yep, Easy Killer is a true crime, kind of with my humor mixed into it. My friend Haley tells the stories. There's like 17 or 18 episodes from a couple years ago, and there's some pretty big ones. Some people like it, some people it may be too much because we do like you guys. We start talking and we go off and come back.
Yeah,
and that's
we can't ever stay on subject.
Yeah, we can't. We can't. So we have plenty more to deal with you to talk to.
Yeah, I still have 2 pages about. We haven't even got to your adulthood yet.
Oh
right.
Lord, yeah.
So
I'm down to talk whenever you guys want me to. I'm
good.
Fine.
We will be back in touch, and I know that this is going to be a huge episode because you're fucking awesome, and I love you so much.
Awesome. I love you guys.
You need to drive your ass to Centerville, Tennessee, so I was going
to ask where y'all at because
we're in Murfreesboro tonight, Tennessee. So
where is that from Louisville? I think Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I live.
Is that in the middle of Kentucky?
We're right at the top of Kentucky.
So we're in Middle Tennessee, like we're right by Nashville.
Oh, okay. Nashville's only like 2 to 3 hours away.
Now where I live is actually an hour because I drive an hour to get here, so I'm an hour south of here. But you need to do a road trip and come to the salon, and
I will.
Yeah, we're 3 hours away from you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, see, you ain't too far. I can do that in a day. I love.
Yeah, and I got a swimming pool, bitch.
Oh,
so,
bitch,
she does too.
In that motherfucker.
And my sister can come because she loves you too.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, we really need to do that because you're awesome, and I love you so much.
I know, I love you guys too.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this with us and letting us hear your damn story.
Did y'all exchange numbers?
No, but send it to me on TikTok.
Yeah, I know. I never want the messages are so hard, but there's just so many messages people.
Right.
And then ever since I'm pretty sure
that's how I didn't know it was you. And then my sister was like, "Wait, do you follow her?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she was like, "No, her." And I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that was her that was talking on the live that night." That's so crazy.
I know. I seen you guys. I seen people on the live. They'll say "Hey." And I'm like, I'm so ADD, I'm focused on the comments. I don't even know what I'm doing with my body or hands.
Yes.
Sometimes I go back and I watch. I'm like, oh, what the fuck was I doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Send me your number and then I'll text you back and then we're going to be best friends.
Yes, we are. Damn it. We already are.
Yes.
I'm getting the t-shirts airbrushed right now. I'm going to have juicy on my ass.
Yes. Get me a large because it's a little snug if it's a medium.
I need to get an extra large. These are huge.
Yeah,
we'll do a group message and then we'll see when we can get you back on here.
Yes.
That's so great. Thank you so much, Brandy.
Yeah.
Y'all go follow her.
I would rather do it next week so that way we can keep them going.
I'm fine anytime you want to, because I do my podcast on the weekend and I just pop open. I sit in my bed eating chips and I'm just talking on mine.
Oh, that's
I don't do
awesome.
nothing. I literally hardly edit unless I do something that's
well, your sound is really good to eat chips because I can't tell.
I'd be like this on there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just be in there crying.
No, she ain't.
I'd be on there like, God, these fucking men just do me so wrong, guys.
Yes, we haven't got into that. I've got that on here.
Okay, good.
Dating. Yeah. Yes,
I'm gonna go get caught up on the podcast. So next thing might be a little bit more serious than this one was.
That's fine with me. I can be serious.
All right, girl, we got you. We love you. Everybody follow her, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Nice to meet you, Brandy. Thank you for doing this.
We can talk shit about our moms, but nobody else can.
Right.
Peace out, bitches.
Bye. Thank you for staying around for all of our crazy.
Be sure to like, follow, and share with everyone you know.
Even them whores you don't like.
And leave us a 5-star review.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, bitches.